Why would you vote to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill when it raises the national debt to $3.4 trillion and hurts the poorest of Americans?
The One Big Beautiful Bill is a imperfect bill, but it is beautiful. If we did not pass this bill, we would have faced a default on our debt, which isn't acceptable.
Oh, honey, this is the big lie wrapped in a bailout. That One Big Beautiful Bill, it added $3.4 trillion to the national debt, mostly from extending Trump's 2017 tax cuts for the wealthy. Meanwhile, SNAP got slashed, housing vouchers frozen, and rural broadband left out. So yeah, technically your taxes didn't go up, but your cost of living did, while billionaires toasted to freedom, some trade.
Almost everyone in the room, if you pay income taxes, would have had your taxes increased. And I'd just like to know who is in the super high income tax bracket that gets tips? No tax on tips. No tax on overtime. No tax on Social Security. These things are big wins for America. And look, President Trump is doing a great job of securing our border.
Foster, you think a 10-year-old would choose to carry?
In the 10-year-old case, first of all, the Ohio...
No, my question is, would a 10-year-old choose to carry a baby?
In the Ohio case, the Ohio Attorney General said that abortion would have been justified.
Focus on the question, please. Would a 10-year-old choose to carry a baby?
I cannot...
Do you think a 10-year-old should choose to carry a baby?
I believe it would probably impact her life, and so therefore it would fall under any exception and would not be an abortion.
Wait. It would not be an abortion if a 10-year-old with her parents made the decision not to have a baby that was the result of a rape?
If a 10-year-old became pregnant as a result of rape and it was threatening her life, then that's not an abortion. So it would not fall under any abortion restriction in our nation.
Ms. Warbelow, are you familiar with disinformation?
Yes, I am.
Did you just hear some disinformation?
Yes, I heard some very significant disinformation.
Why don't you tell me about that?
Yes, an abortion is a procedure. It's a medical procedure that individuals undergo for a wide range of circumstances, including because they have been sexually assaulted, raped in the case of the 10-year-old. It doesn't matter whether or not there is a statutory exemption. It is still a medical procedure that is understood to be an abortion.
So I'm from Ohio, and I'm in my hometown. I usually come home like once a year, if that. But usually I have to have these like really annoying, debates with my conservative Republican family. But this year, that's not happening. Like, I feel like people are turning against Trump, which I adore. And there's also no Trump flags or Trump signs or whatever in any of the yards where they usually are. And every shop that I go into has like rainbow flags and like signs that say like, we welcome all and stuff like that. So I feel like maybe the upside to everything that's happening, which is horrible, is that people are starting to wake up and make better choices.
Yes, this is the quiet revolution. Main Street rejecting hate as a business model. Rainbow flags in Lima. All are welcome signs in Portsmouth. Why? Because small businesses know bigotry doesn't attract customers, it chases them away. And after years of GOP culture wars, Ohioans are choosing prosperity over paranoia. Turns out you can't sell farm equipment to a town full of rage, especially when your own kids are leaving for greener pastures.
One can hope.
to my fellow Catholics, especially to the Catholics who constantly tell me that I'm not a good Catholic because I don't support the things that the president is doing. I want to ask you, did you hear the gospel today? And if so, you heard once again Jesus telling us one of the most important things we can do is to love our neighbor. Now, some of you have been so excited about all of the ICE raids and how they are rounding up people whom you have deemed not people but illegals because they are all criminals, because you have been told they are all criminals. But may I just remind you that many of these people have been here trying to save their lives and the lives of their family, and the red tape that follows them is making them have an illegal status right now. I live in Cincinnati, and right now a chaplain at Cincinnati Children's Hospital was detained. A man who has done nothing but help people, a man who is gainfully employed, a man who has tried so hard to get legal citizenship here, and yet cannot get through all the red tape.
This is the quiet cruelty MAGA never talks about. That hospital chaplain, he pays taxes. He serves families during their worst moments. But because he's caught in a broken immigration system, Trump wants him deported, not protected. And here's the kicker. The same people cheering those raids are the ones begging for workers at their diners and farms. You can't eat border security when your kitchen staff vanishes overnight. Ohio's waking up. Hate doesn't pay the light bill.
Once again, in the gospel, we're reminded that the people who were believed pious, the priest and the Levite, all passed by the man who needed help. And the Samaritan, who wasn't believed to be pious at all, was the one who helped. So once again, I encourage you, please listen to what Jesus says about loving each other and stop listening to you-know-who talking about hate.
We have some news right now. Catholic bishops are rebuking Donald Trump in one of the rarest public statements we've seen in recent years. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops has issued a rare condemnation of Donald Trump's immigration crackdown around the United States of America, calling for meaningful immigration reform, stating, quote, "We are troubled by threats against the sanctity of houses of worship and the special nature of hospitals and schools." This is the first message of its kind issued by the bishops in nearly 12 years. These Catholic bishops are stepping up and condemning Donald Trump. And remember, Donald Trump's base is made up of a lot of Catholic voters. And right now, Catholic bishops across the country are rebuking the president and this White House. Spread the word. Full updates on my Substack, link in bio, subscribe for free. Follow along for all the news you need to know about.
Ohio is absolutely livid at Donald Trump and his regime. Will Ohio turn blue? We're going to find out in a governor's race coming up in 2026. That video I showed you at the outset is from southeastern Ohio, an area usually viewed as Trump country, but Trump has screwed them over so badly. When you look at the latest polling of Donald Trump in Ohio, he is underwater. Right now, 51% of people in Ohio disapprove of Donald Trump, actually about 52% or so. The latest poll shows only a 40% approval that may dip down into the 30s in Ohio.
We've seen this coming since Trump handed Ohio the worst property tax crisis in the Midwest, while slashing income taxes for the top 1%. Meanwhile, public schools, once ranked number 5 in the nation, are now in the 20s. Why? Because Republicans defied 75% of voters who demanded an end to gerrymandering, so they could keep rigging budgets to benefit donors, not classrooms. Now even MAGA loyalists are asking, why is my house worth less, my insurance higher, and my kids' future dimmer, while billionaires get richer? Funny how that works.
Also, the current governor of Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine, his approval rating is only 32%. Ohio despises its current MAGA leadership, and Ohio's being run by Republicans and being run into the ground. Let me just take a look at another video. That first video I showed you was from the No Kings protest in southeastern Ohio. Let me show you what went down at Park in Cincinnati. Let's play this clip right here.
Hatred is wrong. Hatred is wrong. The neighborhood is strong. The neighborhood is strong. Racism.
So there is a major governor's race taking place in 2026. Dr. Amy Acton is way up with independent voters against the perceived MAGA Republican candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, plus 19 over Vivek Ramaswamy in the Bowling Green poll. Also, there is a Hart poll where if the election were to have taken place right now, Dr. Amy Acton, the Democratic candidate, she would be leading by 1 point, and she would become the next governor of Ohio.
I work in politics, and I just got back from a trip in Washington, D.C., and I want to tell you the absolutely unhinged rumor I heard from current and former federal workers and people on Capitol Hill about what Donald Trump is about to do next, because if it's true, it will alter the course of American history forever. I want to preface this by saying I am not a journalist. What I'm about to share with you is just a rumor, though I did hear it from multiple people who do not know each other from multiple areas of the federal government. So with all those disclaimers, I'm going to share this with you anyway because I think you deserve to know. Long story short, Donald Trump is trying to give Washington, D.C. to billionaire Peter Thiel. I mean that literally, not figuratively. Like he's trying to give a billionaire control over the land and the people within Washington, D.C. The specific rumor is that instead of granting Washington, D.C. statehood like its residents have been demanding for years, he wants to actually roll back the little bit of independence that they already have of self-government. Apparently, he's considering turning the district into what some call a freedom city. Proponents of freedom cities advocate for areas and territories that are governed and owned completely by corporations, so essentially corporate colonies. So there's no federal government oversight, there's no state government oversight. Essentially, these freedom cities are ruled by CEO kings. So from what I'm hearing, the Trump administration is exploring abusing DC's existing status as a district to make it the first freedom city and give it to his billionaire buddy, Peter Thiel. This is a disaster for reasons I shouldn't have to elaborate on. Obviously, that would set an incredibly dangerous precedent. It's hugely symbolic to give the area where the federal government runs to a billionaire. We're really talking about a new era of colonization rooted in techno-fascism. And while this particular rumor is new, Trump's association with people who lobby for the creation of freedom cities is well known, and they were at his inauguration. I know it sounds far-fetched, but we really should start fighting against this now before it becomes a reality.
The Ohio Senate just voted to close the grace period window for sending in your mail-in ballots. So currently, you have 4 days after Election Day to get your mail-in ballot received by the Board of Elections and have it count. The bill that just passed would mean that if your mail-in ballot does not arrive by Election Day, your vote is not counted. Which groups are particularly disenfranchised by a bill like this? You've got disabled people, senior citizens, and active duty military men. Like, you're gonna go after these people? So has anybody tried to send anything through the mail lately? Even if you send something and give it like a week or 2 weeks to get there, it may not get there in time. So you're basically saying it's okay for people's votes not to count if the mail happens to be late? I don't think that's okay. There is no reason that we need this. Our elections are safe and secure. It is anti-democratic, that it affects people's constitutional right to vote and have their vote matter and have their vote count, because this is not good for Ohio. This is not good for our democracy.
Straight up, affordability is the new jobs. Gas up, groceries up, car insurance up 34% in 2 years. And Trump's response? A dumb meme about eating pets. While his party blocks Medicaid expansion, kills public transit, and guts worker training programs. You can't meme your way out of a cost of living crisis, but you can vote for people who'll actually regulate monopolies, fund schools, and stop treating your wallet like an ATM for oligarchs.
So Donald Trump dies and he goes to hell, and when he gets there he meets the devil, and the devil says, listen, you're definitely meant to be here, but we don't have any room for you. So in order for us to accept you in, we're going to have to let somebody go. He said, but I'm going to make it fair and I'm going to let you choose who gets to leave. So come with me. So he takes Trump to 3 different doors, and he says, behind one of these doors is somebody you can set free and take their place. He said, but like I said, I'm going to let you make the decision. So Donald Trump opens the first door, and he sees Barack Obama, and he's jumping off a diving board, landing in a pool, getting out of the pool, getting on the diving board, and jumping back in. And he's doing it over and over repeatedly. And Trump goes, I don't think I can, I don't think I can do this for eternity. So no, I don't think I can do this. So the devil says, all right, we'll check door number 2. So he opens up door number 2, and George Bush is in there, and he's got a hammer, and he's breaking rocks, and he just keeps breaking rocks, just consistently. Like he breaks one rock, another rock appears, and Trump goes, I got a bad shoulder, old golf injury, can't be doing that either. So let's go back and check door number 3. So the devil takes him to door number 3, and he opens the door, and Bill Clinton's strapped to a bed. And Monica Lewinsky comes in and does what Monica Lewinsky was famous for doing over and over and over again. And Trump goes, I think I can handle this. I can get used to this. So yeah, I'll take door number 3. The devil says, all right, Monica, you're free to go.
Big election night across the country and right here in Ohio. Those Republicans like to say that Ohio is red, but Ohio voters sent a clear message rejecting Republican policies and Republican support of Trump's corrupt, cruel, and chaotic agenda, with overwhelming Democratic victories in school board races, council seats, all kinds of races across Ohio. It is a great reminder that state and local races, they matter way more to your day-to-day life than federal elections. So I want to take this moment to explain why we should all care about what is going on at the Ohio State House these days. Remember, Ohio Republicans have unconstitutionally, illegally gerrymandered a supermajority in Ohio for the last 30 years. And I know this is hard to believe, but they just managed to gerrymander the crap out of Ohio even more than it's already gerrymandered. Even though 7 years ago, 75% of us, that's not Democrats, that's everybody, we voted to end gerrymandering in Ohio with a constitutional amendment. And for 7 years, Ohio Republicans have been giving the middle finger to Ohioans and completely utterly ignoring the will of Ohio voters, completely defying the state constitution and multiple Supreme Court rulings that their maps are rigged in their favor.
Classic MAGA logic. Democracy is rigged, then spend 7 years rigging it yourself so you never have to answer to voters again. Here's the truth. When your legislature ignores a constitutional amendment approved by 3 out of 4 Ohioans, you're not governing, you're occupying, and Ohioans are done being colonized by their own state house.
This means Ohio Republicans don't answer to you. They answer to the politicians who are making those gerrymandered maps. Property tax crisis. Ohio Republicans are 100% to blame for the property tax crisis because of their terrible policies. Part of the problem? Out of control tax breaks that they give to their rich corporate donors. Last year, we lost $12 billion in revenue because of that. And income tax breaks for their rich friends. In fact, Ohio Republicans just gave Ohio millionaires one of the top 5 biggest millionaire tax breaks in the entire country. All that revenue gone. What about our public schools? Reminder, 90% of Ohio's kids attend our public schools. We used to rank 5th in the nation in public education. Now we've dropped to the mid-20s. Why? Republicans have been in power for the last 30 years. They hate funding public education. They keep underfunding our public schools. For decades, the way we fund our public schools has been ruled unconstitutional. I know this is hard to believe, but Ohio Republicans have completely ignored that. They keep taking year after year more and more money away from our public schools, which, wait for it, shifts the burden of paying for our public schools from the state and businesses onto property owners, me and you. Ohio is one of the most levied states in the country, thanks to Ohio Republicans not fulfilling their constitutional duty to fund our public schools. On top of that, they're funneling billions of unaccounted for public tax dollars to their rich private school friends with vouchers, billions of dollars that we have no idea what they are doing with. Meantime, Ohio has one of the worst economies in the country. Our population is declining. People are fleeing the state. Ohio consistently ranks in the top 10 in unemployment. So what have Ohio Republicans been doing? They're focused on culture wars. They want to tell us what books our kids can and can't read, what bathrooms they can use. They want to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion in our public schools. They are going after drag shows. They're shoving their extremist Christian nationalist agenda down our throats and in our public schools. They want to pass their own version of the SAVE Act, which would make it harder for married women, seniors, and people of color to vote. They're going to go after Ohio's reproductive amendment. You know, that one that we passed with almost 60% of the vote? Yeah, they're trying to go after that. I know it's hard to believe, but they want to completely ignore the will of Ohio voters and defy the state constitution. What about the affordability crisis? People can't afford to buy houses, pay their rent, pay their insurance, buy a car. pay for food and groceries, but they're more concerned about whether or not there are drag shows in Ohio.
Let's talk priorities. While families choose between insulin and groceries, Ohio Republicans introduced over 20 bills about drag shows and 0 about capping insulin prices. Meanwhile, they're handing one of the top 5 biggest millionaire tax breaks in the country, while your local library cuts hours. You ever feel like your pain is just their political theater?
So if you don't agree with how Republicans are running in the state, my suggestion to you is to get to know your state lawmakers, your state reps, and your state senators. You might actually be kind of embarrassed about what they're doing in the state house. I'm not even kidding. Like banning tampons in men's bathrooms. That's what Republicans did this year. Was that a huge priority for you? Does that make your day-to-day life better here in Ohio? And then you need to start calling and emailing them and letting them know what you think about how they are doing their job. They do not hear from us enough. And by the way, every single state house seat is up for election next year. Many state senate seats are up, and all the top statewide offices like governor are up for election next year. 2026 is our opportunity to let Ohio Republicans know exactly what we think they are doing to the great state of Ohio. Links are in the comments.
Ohio didn't fail. Its leaders did. But here's the hope. People are done trading dignity for dog whistles, done letting billionaires loot their future while blaming immigrants for the mess. So to every Ohioan watching this, your vote isn't loyalty, it's leverage. Use it to fund schools, not scapegoats. Use it to lower bills, not build walls. If you're tired of being the punchline in Trump's stand-up act, smash like, subscribe, and in the comments, what policy finally woke up your county? Stay sharp, stay Buckeye strong. And remember, the only thing Ohio should be exporting is hope.